Hello, my name is Peggy Barry Bartz, and welcome to another session of You're Kind of a Big Deal. Today my guest is Fred Caviani. Fred is a light bearer to the world. The point of You're Kind of a Big Deal is that everyone has a story and everyone shares their light when they share their story. I've known Fred for 23 years and he is a light bearer. And I'm sorry if I'm embarrassing you, Fred, but I also need to tell you my Fred story. I have never met a Fred that I didn't like. Once upon a time I wrote a column about that. Fred's my favorite Fred that I know. And I know quite a few Freds now. So Fred, welcome to You're Kind of a Big Deal.
Thank you.
Do you know You're Kind of a Big Deal?
Well, I appreciate being here.
Okay.
That you've asked me. Well, today I can feel like a big deal.
All right.
Thank you.
Where are we, first of all, in this gorgeous setting?
Well, we're at the Capuchin Retreat House in Washington, Michigan. This is a retreat house where people come for weekends to have a silent retreat, deepen their relationship with God. And during the week, we have many programs here. I'm a psychologist, marriage counselor. I have an office in Troy for the last 33 years, but they invited me to be on staff here about 5 years ago. And so I do a lot of programs here. I come on Friday mornings to plan programs, get programs relevant to people.
Okay, so if I had to say, what are the programs mostly, what's the overarching reason to have a program here besides the fact that it's absolutely astoundingly beautiful?
Yes, it's absolutely. It's on 95 acres. Well, the purpose is to have people open up to God more in a very quiet, gentle way. Have people develop a sense of prayer, contemplation. But to have people look at their lives and say, how can I open up to myself better?
Okay.
How can I open up to my feelings, my joy and pain, and develop a relationship with God? And that's the main purpose of this retreat house.
Okay, so it's a place to get away from the world that we live in on a daily basis that's noisy and electronically programmed and all of those things. Okay, I have a question for you.
Yes.
Why are we here?
You mean in life?
I don't mean today
right,
here.
Exactly.
I mean like the big question. You know, Fred, you're really good at this, so I figured I might as well get you right away. I was at an art fair the other day and there was an artist there and he said, do you have any questions? You know, you can't leave an opening like that for me. So I said to him, yes, what is the meaning of life? He didn't know what to say. But you have a little bit more handle than the average person. First of all, tell me about your history as a Capuchin monk.
Well, years ago I had been a Capuchin.
Okay, for those who don't know, what does that really mean?
Okay, it's a religious order following St. Francis.
Okay.
Capuchin Franciscans. They're really not called monks, they're friars, but they're very prayerful.
That's different from a friar that goes in the chicken shack.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah, very good point. But anyway, from the age 14 to 31, I've been with the Capuchins. And I had been a priest, Capuchin Franciscan priest, and I decided I think I would serve God better probably married. So I got a dispensation, but I've always been close to the Capuchins. And so now I'm married and have 3 children and 5 grandchildren with 6 on the way. But a number of years ago, 5 years ago, they asked me to come up and work on the staff here.
Okay.
And I thoroughly enjoy it. I still have my practice in Troy, which I love. But being part of this, it kind of, it reverberates with my philosophy and theology of life.
Which is?
That life, we're here to bring more love and kindness to the world.
Hear,
the whole
hear.
purpose of life.
Yes, we are.
But
Say that again, please. That's
We're here
so
to
important.
bring more love and kindness to the world, to everyone. We're not here to hang on to resentments, anger, judge other people, condemn other people. We're here to be loving and kind. Sounds idealistic, but you know what? It works.
Right, but sometimes it's really difficult because people are people and they, have things that happen to them. So the programs here are designed to help people to shed some of those things that happened to you that caused you pain?
Yes, very much so. We have different programs that are to really recognize that the whole purpose of life is to embrace our pain. And in Catholic circles, Christian circles, it's to recognize that there was a God who came, Christ came among us to say, this is how you live. You embrace your pain, you really embrace whatever is before you, and you rise to a new life. And God is with us every step of the way. I have found that true psychologically, spiritually, biologically. If we look around this beautiful setting, a grain had to die to become a tree. A seed had to die. Psychologically, we have to face our emotions to rise again. And spiritually, we have to do the same thing. If you look over evolution, something has to die to rise again. And that's true in every aspect of life. A woman giving birth has to embrace the pain in order to give birth. If all of a sudden you need surgery, we have to embrace that in order to get better. And that's true in every moment of life. Every moment of life is a death and resurrection. Every moment I have to embrace something that could be painful, but as soon as I embrace it, I rise to a new life.
Okay, that embracing part is the heart. Would you say it's like, there's so many different words for embrace. Hug, put your arms around.
Lean into.
Lean into.
Well, the Buddhists would say that. Lean
okay,
into.
lean into it. So it means fully feeling.
Yes.
Try to explain in a physical way. I know it's hard to explain in a physical way an emotional thing, but let's say you're going through, let's say you break a leg. Let's use that's a really terrible term to use in a film, but break a leg but maybe I was supposed to. So let's say you're riding your bicycle and you fall off your bicycle and you break your leg. Tell me how you embrace the pain of that and go through that to the healing process. Because, okay, and then we'll get to the emotional part.
No, well, the first part is, of course, it's hard. You're going to be traumatized at first, but once we realize what's happened, I have to let myself feel it. I have a friend who just had an operation on his ankle, and I wrote to him, I texted him, I said, embrace the pain. I said, because as we embrace it, the pain will begin to diminish. Most tension, most struggles in life, and most pain come from trying to avoid and fight against what's happening to us. If you get the diagnosis of cancer, you're in shock. However, once you say, okay, I have to embrace this, this is a reality, I totally embrace it, then options open up to you.
So is it like accepting, oh, I just broke my leg and it really hurts, and
Yes.
you just kind of almost say that out loud,
Yes.
and know and feel, oh, my leg is going to hurt for a little while.
Yes, exactly. But then emotionally, it's the same thing. What if somebody says something that hurts you? Our first reaction is to be angry.
Yes.
Our first reaction is to be angry, resentful. Well, that's a superficial emotion because we're afraid to embrace, this really hurts. Let me feel that pain. Let me embrace the hurt. When I embrace it, I will go deeper and I'll discover, maybe I'm hurting because my ego's a little too big. Or maybe I'm hurting because there's something inside myself I haven't faced. Or maybe I'm somewhat insecure about something. But if we're always in the wrong ballpark if we're staying angry or resentful. And we want to get even. That's the wrong ballpark to be. But we all go there. Every one of us does. But the whole purpose of life is to go deeper, to open up to this presence of God in our life, to open up to other people. This conversation we're having, if I was hanging on to something, I'd never be free to listen to you. And you wouldn't be free to do the good job that you do.
Oh, thank you, Fred.
Really?
Yeah, but every time I talk to you or listen to you, I learn something. And I get your columns in my email box once a week. You write a column for a very unusual publication in that you're a spiritual and a marriage and family counselor. It's in the, tell me all the publications. I know it's in the Detroit Legal News.
Detroit Legal News, Oakland County Legal News, Wayne County, Genesee County, Washtenaw County, and Jackson County. It's a column I write every other week. It's called The Counselor's Corner. And they haven't shut me down yet. It's been doing it for 13 years.
And lawyers are pretty cut and dried, and there's no emotion in what they do. It's all based on the law. So every time I read a column, I think, this is amazing that it's in a legal newspaper where you have all this legal business going on. So I love that part. You
And
sort of
the human humorous element.
Yes. Well, and some of them are very, very personal about the struggle that your wife had with cancer.
Oh, yes.
And some are with your grandchild. I love the story. You just put this recently about the pool, the swimming pool. You need to tell that story because we can all identify. We all need, the fairy godmother runs around helping people, encouraging them. So this little girl is born to be a fairy godmother in her in her life. That's really what the fairy godmother does.
Yes.
Give us a little boost and says, hey, you could do this. So tell me the story of the swimming pool.
Well, there's two little stories. My granddaughter, one time, she's 6, and she came up to you one day and she said, Grandpa, when things get really quiet, does God come really close to you?
Oh.
And what a theologian. But then the other day, I was in the pool with her and her sister Gabriella. And what happened is, Gabriella was going to jump into the pool and she was scared. So Mia Bella, who's 6, says to her sister, Gabriella, believe in yourself. Believe in yourself. Have confidence in yourself and jump. And she jumped.
Wow. See? That's amazing. She's 6 years old.
Yes.
How does she know that already? What do you think? How does she know that? Is God probably really close to her right now as a child?
Well, I think yes, but I think she has a great mother and father who are very affirming and who listen to her and who connect with her. And that story could be told of any family when we're really connected.
True.
Everyone has memories. Every family that could be true of. But it's amazing. Children can tell us so much. But you know what? Every person we meet has something to tell us about life.
Yes, that is
We
so
listen.
true. That's why everybody's kind of a big deal.
Yes. This is a great title for your program. This is wonderful.
Well, it took me a long time to get to that because a lot of people want to not acknowledge that someone else is a big deal. My own personal philosophy, which is kind of in line with yours, if we all treated each other like we were all kind of a big deal, wouldn't the world change? Even if you went into a grocery store one day and thought, wow, I wonder which of these people is hiding as Jesus. You'd treat everyone in the store different because you wouldn't know. That I borrowed that story from some tradition I remember, but it's true. How would you not know? Yeah, and we'd all treat each other with love and care and kindness. And in the little tiny stories, like what happened with Mirabella and Gabriella, by the way, those are beautiful names.
Oh, thank you.
They kind of sound angelic, but that's really kind of how it works. Okay, I'm going to ask you another question.
Sure.
All right. We live in a speeded up world, and I finally accepted that now that I'm not 26 anymore, that time seems to be going faster. And someone just explained this recently because we know we have less time on the earth. Time speeds up because you only have a certain amount left. Mm-hmm. Whereas you're a little person, you have all kinds of time.
Right.
How do we take the time in the world of texting and instant communication and instant food, which isn't very always good for you, but it's food. How do we take the time in a small, even every day, how do we figure out how to take a few minutes to slow down? I talk fast. I have to figure out how to slow down.
It's a very good question. My philosophy, theology of life is that if there's a God, and I believe there is, that God somehow is present in everything and everyone. In some way, there's a power. So if I focus on the next thing around me, and I just look at it and focus on it, I'm going to have an experience of God. If I truly just focus, if I truly pay attention to you, really listen, I'm going to have an experience of God in some way. If I look at this beautiful grass, or the tree, or the sky, or the lake in the background, but if I truly focus on it, my whole system will slow down. The problem with all of us is we live in our yesterdays and we live in our tomorrows. And life is only in the moment. Life is only in the present moment.
As in, we live in our yesterdays where we're thinking about things that happened, and then we're worrying about things in the future.
Yes, exactly.
So how do you stay in the present moment? I can do that for about a minute every day.
Because it's to have the realization that all we have is the moment. So I need to embrace it and experience it. If I do, we have to plan things, but that's a moment when we're planning things. But if I'm driving, if I'm just sitting here listening to you and I'm thinking of what I'm going to do next, I'm going to miss connecting with you. If I'm walking, I'm going to miss all the sense and the presence of God that's around me. So then I can slow up. But there's another part, and that is to learn. That's what we do at the retreat house. I start my sessions with a meditation in psychotherapy and marriage counseling. I started out to get people to just get in touch with the present moment, to slow down, to go deeper. That's what meditation is about. To learn to get out of our head and just be quiet. And I will teach people how to do that. That's the whole purpose of life, to slow down, and then we become in touch with the real values in life. To be loved more, to be kind, to have integrity, to bring gentleness and kindness to the world. But I don't think we're bringing gentleness and kindness to the world if we're condemning others, if we're condemning this party or that party, this movement, that movement. We're destroying our own peace. People change and life changes when people feel loved and feel treated with compassion and kindness, which is what you do.
Now, there are people who'd say, well, Fred, that's kind of utopian, and how can that possibly happen in this world where everybody's in a competitive spirit, and how do you answer that?
Try it. It works.
Oh, that's pretty simple.
You know, in the 60s, I was marching for civil rights in Milwaukee, and people used to scream and shout at us. People didn't fight back, and things got changed. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. started his nonviolent movement. I'll never forget the story of one of the Capuchin priests who marched with him told me they were marching, and this man came up, and this bystander, and burned the face of one of the marchers with the match. The marcher turned around, came over, and said, I'm sorry that you feel this way, but I want you to know I love you and I have care for you. That bystander joined the march.
Wow.
It's amazing. People love to project their own frustrations onto others and then get other people angry at them. If someone gets angry at me and I respond with kindness, their frustration falls back on themselves, and then they have to deal with it. And sometimes they will make changes. But if I'm continually fighting anger with anger, confronting you and telling you how terrible you are, or you have to change so I can be happy, the world doesn't have to change for me to be happy. To be happy, I need to change by bringing kindness and love to others. The truth is that when I do that, I'm going to open myself up to the greatest source of kindness and love, which is God.
Wow. Now I'm going to venture a little bit of a guess here. When you do marriage counseling with couples, and living in relationship with another human being in close proximity is probably one of the most challenging things for human beings to do.
Yes.
Because you know all their strengths and you know their weaknesses. And I'm guessing that this philosophy that you just spoke of helps immensely in helping couples understand where they're coming from, where they might be angry at their spouse for something that was said. It really has more to do. Can you expound on that just
sure.
a little?
Well, what I do with couples is,
I have a friend who just said really recently, if you really want to ramp up your understanding of who you are, get in a relationship with somebody.
that's right.
And I started laughing.
That's really true.
Yeah.
That's we need relationship, whether we're married or not. Someone once told me, you need the moderating influence of a woman in your life, or a woman needs the moderating influence of a man.
As one who directs men, I'm really good with that, Fred.
Yeah.
Even though they sing, but yeah.
Right.
Say that one more time.
Right. We need the moderating influence of the opposite sex in our life, basically.
Rather one way or the other. Doesn't matter which one
right.
it is.
But
Yes.
for couples, if they come in to see me, I will get them to have to reflect back what the other person said. They come in, I'm not going to solve the problem. I'm not going to intellectualize things. They would do this. So all of a sudden I get one couple having to reflect back what the other says. And I'll start with saying, what made you decide to marry the other person? They have to say it, and the other says, so what I heard you say is this. What they want to do at first is they want to say, I want to tell you how terrible my spouse is and what a schmuck my spouse is. I don't get into that. Let's listen to each other. All of a sudden the tears start coming. And all of a sudden, then I say, what do you like best about the other person? Then they have to reflect it. It's a dialogue. And what do you like least? And it's a dialogue. All of a sudden, if you learn to reflect what other people have said, you become the most popular person around because, oh my God, you got me. You got me. Somebody understands me. And we crave to have someone understand us. But to do that, I have to listen. But if I really listen to someone else, I'm going to have to go deeper inside myself.
Right. And so the same philosophy, in some way, even though God doesn't answer us back, sometimes in that silence of reflective listening, we get to dialogue. And a place like this where it's absolutely beautiful gives you some chance to listen and reflect even on the beauty of some of the flowers and the fountains and the just the overall. I mean, I can see this huge expanse of nature.
Yes, it's a very good analogy, Peggy. We come away to a retreat house to be quiet, to shut up and listen, and to listen to God speaking to us in the whisperings in our heart, in our mind. You're right. The principle of meditation is basically the same principle of listening to another human person.
Ah.
It's the same principle. I have to be quiet and listen. And it's a good analogy.
Thank you. Want to go for a walk?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, let's suppose that, I have to get my child off to school in the morning and I have about 20 minutes to take a walk outside. If I'm going to practice finding God in just a few minutes, does it help that I pay attention that that bumblebee is having a blast collecting pollen?
Yes,
And
very
it
much so.
eventually will be honey?
Yes.
Okay.
Just every little thing you see, every part of nature.
All right.
When we just look at it, we, in a sense, embrace it, and we slow down, and all of a sudden, you'll see a presence of God. A month ago, I had a program called Summer Evening with God, and we had the people during part of the program walk along this path that we're walking here.
Okay.
And I did too, and I just looked at a tree, and I saw the bark in the tree, and I saw a bug crawling up the tree, and I just looked around, and it was so relaxing. But in doing that, something happens to us. We just slow down because we're not trying to accomplish anything. We're just receiving. And nature, people, everything is to give us something about God. Everything. I mean, look at the beautiful bush. But if I just focus on, I don't analyze it, I just focus on it, and things will happen. When we start with the heart in life, the head always follows.
When we start with the heart, but we live in a head world that says, oh yeah, you have a heart, but let's not talk about that.
That's a good way
You know
of
what's
putting it.
interesting? Since I get distracted easy, I'm looking at all these tiles that look like they're made in memory or for people. I've already seen two that I know the people.
Yes.
So that could be a source of, even though this is writing, just
Exactly.
looking at the ground, and I saw jogs over there. I grew up at St. Isaac Jogues Parish, so I thought of my childhood. I know people from St. Kieran, because, yeah,
That's right.
what a great thing. So I have
Yes.
to not look at the ground for a minute.
That's all right, but that's a good example. The other thing is,
Oh, look, a light hiding in the darkness.
yep. I love it. You're
There's
right. But see, just that, all of a sudden something hits you.
right.
It's amazing.
And at night, that would glow.
Oh yes, these
It's
lights are
probably
all on.
solar. Yeah.
Exactly. And the deer come up here quite often.
Oh, do they?
Yes, this is on 95 acres, so there's
Wow.
paths all around, and it's just it's such a wonderful, peaceful experience. But you said something so accurately. You know, what do we do when we're just taking the time out? It isn't the time to analyze. It's just the time to experience. God will do the rest. But so often we want to analyze it, or you're saying a prayer, I got to make sure I get this done. No, we don't have to get it done. Let's just experience it.
Now see, one of my favorite ways to meditate is near water.
Yes.
I love the ocean, but a fountain, what is it about us human beings and water? I mean, people clamor for lake property or oceanfront property.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't have to do with the piece of land, it has to do with the water.
There's something,
why is that?
I don't know, but I think there's something hypnotic. There's something about it. Well, maybe it's no accident that most of the earth is covered with water. Maybe there's something about water that's...
Maybe it's because our bodies are like 98% water,
Yeah.
or whatever it is. We identify with that.
Yes. But again, it's a peaceful place. It's rhythmic. Maybe that's it. Something is rhythmic, and all of a sudden it lulls us into slowing down.
That could be. Well, there's a lot of talk about that everything is made of vibration. When I was in school, you know, they taught us that atoms and protons and electrons were like little things you could see and you had to diagram them. But now, through quantum physics, there isn't such a thing. Mm-hmm. Look at that beautiful red flower right there. It looks like a red sunflower.
Yes.
Yeah.
But see, you're doing it. You're noticing. You're experiencing. And I'm convinced that in everything we see, there's a presence of God in some way. I mean, you talk about an atom, you talk about the human body, everything. There has to be there's a presence there. And when we focus on it, it relaxes. Another thing, it's no accident that there's at least 25 million people running today, exercising, but running.
Running?
As in
running?
Yeah, jogging. It's a solitary occupation, but you know why I think it's so popular? It allows people to slow down in their minds and become more receptive to what's going on. I'm convinced of that.
I must say that I think that's
Or
true.
walking.
I actually trained for a half marathon and actually finished it. And I cried when I was done because it was such a major accomplishment.
Yes.
But the training part was wonderful.
Yes.
And I ran on hilly roads in Lake Orion, good old Indian Lake Road, which is up and down. And every time I ran, I thought, this is metaphorical for my life. We have hills, we have valleys. Sometimes it's really hard to go up the hill. And then you get to go on the downside.
Oh,
you just fly.
You're so right.
Yeah.
I've run a number of marathons, 10, and I remember the first one I was sobbing at the end.
Oh, so I wasn't the only one who was like so overcome with emotion.
Oh yeah. I think when we are trying to take care of ourselves, our mind and body gets very connected with each other. And we become much more, I'll never forget, it was my third marathon and I'm jogging and a man comes by in a wheelchair and I just started sobbing. Sobbing, because he was doing the marathon in a wheelchair.
Wow.
It's amazing.
Wow. Look at that enormous tree over there.
Yes.
Look at the trunk on that. That tree has been here a long, long, long time. I don't even think if we stretched both our arms around it, we could get our hands around it.
No, I don't.
It's
you're
just huge.
But see, you're doing it. You're just becoming aware of everything in a very quiet way. Not to accomplish anything. Not to say, oh, I'm doing this. Well, I'm just experiencing. And maybe that's what life is all about.
Paying attention?
Yes.
Yes, paying attention. By the way, I like your blue stripes on your shirt.
Oh, thank you.
See, I'm paying attention that there's a white stripe inside the blue stripe. Yeah.
Wow,
Sometimes we just have to pay attention. Look at these gorgeous leaves.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
And the veins in them, just like human people have veins. Very cool.
See, well, this
just
is
have to take the
amazing.
time to
Yes,
notice everything.
The interesting thing, it's peaceful and energizing at the same time. What we're doing, it's just peaceful and energizing.
Well, Fred, I hope you have a wonderful, peaceful day, because this has been an awesome start to my day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
I'm going to embrace you, okay?
All right. Thank you.
All right. Thank
Appreciate
you,
it.
Fred. All
Thank
right.
you.